Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're a couple minutes past 7:30 Central, 8:30 my time. I'm in Sterling, Virginia. My name is Betsy Miller. I'm one of the aromatherapy educators with Cacia. So this evening's class, our theme is Father's Day, which is coming right up on Sunday. I'd like to give a shout out, thank you to my son's preschool for making sure I remembered that because I did not. And they sent home a little project for the kids to do this week about, I love my daddy because I know my daddy loves me because, and it was so sweet to go through that with my 4-year-old and hear his answers about, how he feels love. One of his answers was, when my daddy's home, he likes to play with me in the basement, which is where we have our toy room. Or I know my daddy loves me because he reads me books. And that was really sweet. So that was just a fun treat for me to go through that with him. So this evening's class, we are going to be making a series of recipes that we can give to fathers or father figures in our lives. Men tend to not be included as much in the aromatherapy world, just because it seems to be a very woman-based industry. And I think that's unfortunate because essential oils aren't gendered, right? Essential oils are for everyone. So I love that we can bring more men into the aromatherapy world to experience the benefits of essential oils because they're for everybody, right? If we have physiology, which we all do as humans, our bodies will respond to aromatherapy, either in how we feel, what happens to our skin. So we can all enjoy the benefits. And I think, especially for any man in your life that's really interested in learning more about clean alternatives to some of their favorite products, like aftershaves or colognes that tend to be very riddled with synthetic fragrances. This is a really good way to kind of bring them into that world of natural products and synthetic free products. They're so easy to make, and hopefully the father figures in your lives will appreciate them. This is also a great last minute gift option if, like me, you totally lost track of time and are now scrambling to figure out what to do for Father's Day. Thank goodness for Etsy as well, because they have pretty quick shipping options for personalized gifts. So let me go ahead and close the chat box here so I can pull up my recipes, not the chat box, the attendee box. Okay, so the first recipe that we're going to make is our sandalwood beard oil that features sandalwood essential oil and mandarin essential oil. And beard oils, I really feel have just taken off in popularity in the last few years. I think, men with beards are coming back in fashion. For a while, it was all clean shaven, crisp, clean. I spent how long was I in Vermont? About 5 years living in Vermont. So I love a man with a beard. My husband has a beard. The very flannel wearing woodsy type Vermonter is what I got used to in my formative college years. So I'm really glad that beards are coming back in style. And just like we have a hair care routine, it's actually really beneficial for the health of facial hair to have a beard care routine. I also learned, I wish I hadn't learned this, but I did learn that beard hair can actually hold a lot of bacteria. So having a beard care routine with essential oils that tend to be very cleansing is also honestly a personal hygiene practice. Not that you want to, present that on Father's Day as here's a beard oil to deal with bacteria type of present, but just, it not only helps the hair feel soft and silky, maybe manage some frizz if that's a concern, but it does help keep the skin and the hair healthy. So 2 of my favorite essential oils that we use in this recipe, sandalwood and mandarin orange. The 2 together create this earthy yet just gently citrusy blend. Mandarin orange, if you've worked with our essential oils before, we carry a couple of different kinds of citruses. We have lemon and tangerine and lime, and we have 2 primary oranges. We have our sweet orange and our mandarin orange. And mandarin orange is just a little bit deeper of an aroma than sweet orange. Sweet orange is very sparkly, and I love pairing it with some of our heavier oils that we're going to use later, like vetiver, or some of the spices like bay. Mandarin orange, I don't want to say a little more manly, because again, essential oils aren't gendered, but it's a little bit heavier of an aroma than sweet orange. So a lot of men tend to gravitate towards the earthier, muskier, heavier aromas. So that's why the mandarin orange blends so much better in this recipe with sandalwood than sweet orange, which also blends well with sandalwood, but might not be quite as appealing to men's aroma profile preference. So I also love that the descriptor on our mandarin orange is alluring, So Father's Day can be about celebrating the fathers and the father figures and also saying, hey, here's a little bit of an alluring product that I made for you. So super easy to make this recipe. It's the easiest one that we're going to make tonight, which is why I started with it. We are going to let's do our oils first. In your 2-ounce bottle, which is also great if you're flying to go visit a father figure. These are carry-on acceptable, anything less than like 3.1 ounces. So these are great for travel if you need to go visit. We are going to do 6 drops of our mandarin essential oil. And this one comes out pretty quickly. I got 1 extra drop in there, and that's totally fine. A little tip, if you're working with an essential oil that is very thin, meaning it's going to come out of this dropper bottle much faster than some of the heavier, more viscous oils, instead of holding it, I'm going to put the lid on just to demonstrate so I'm not spraying it everywhere. Instead of holding it perfectly upside down, like we do for a vetiver or a sandalwood that comes out really slowly, if you pour it at an angle, that slows down the drop rate. So it's easier to have more control over how many drops you're doing when you hold the bottle at an angle versus perfectly upside down. And then we are going to do, I love sandalwood. It's just grounding, right? It's so grounding. And just like being a mom is hard, being a dad is hard. It is so, honestly, just being a parent is hard. Whether or not you are, what I call the default parent, meaning you tend to take on more of the responsibility at home, regardless, parenting is hard and we all need a little bit of grounding. And if you have an aromatherapy product that you can literally like massage into your face, so you get the hair care benefits of the carrier oil we're going to use, but you get the aromatherapy benefit literally right there, inhaling it up into the olfactory center of your brain, you get that immediate calming, grounding effect of the combination of these oils. And I really love promoting and normalizing this idea of, men need to be in tune with their feelings too, and be able to show emotion and practice their deep breathing. And they don't have to be just, stoic, especially the flannel wearing mountain men with beards. We can all be sensitive. So we're going to do 18 drops of sandalwood. You'll see this one is coming out much more slowly. So I can hold it perfectly upside down. One skill that I really want to work on is being able to simultaneously count and talk without losing count of my drops. Not quite there yet. The carrier oil that we're going to use this evening is grapeseed oil. And what's great about grapeseed is that it's one of our lightest oils. It has a very fast absorption rate. So when we think about oil that we're putting on our face or hair on our face, we don't want a really thick, heavy oil, like even almond oil, I wouldn't want to put on my face or, hair near my face. Because we don't want to walk around with like a greasy sheen all over us all day. Grapeseed oil absorbs quickly. It's one of my favorite hair care oils because it absorbs quickly and doesn't leave your hair looking like it's like raggedy and greasy. So we'll do 2 ounces of grapeseed oil, which means just filling the bottle up to the top. And I'm actually really excited to give these to my husband for Father's Day. I'm going to make this process a little bit faster. And just fill it up this way. My husband's never done any like beard care routine. And I think it'll be really fun to get him into it. My 4-year-old is a trip. He is the most just vivacious, imaginative, incredible little boy. He's a handful. but his mind is just so funny. The other day, he was just like I was eavesdropping. He was having this conversation with my husband, and out of nowhere, he just calls my husband beard boy. And I just like, I laughed so hard at that. And like every once in a while, he'll just call my husband beard boy. So I'm really excited to see if my oldest wants to help my husband with his beard care routine. I've also been very curious to see what would happen if my husband ever shaved off his beard, especially the baby, if he would freak out and wonder like, who is this stranger in my house? So that's all you have to do to make a beard oil. We, shake it up, make sure it's nice and integrated. And then it doesn't take a lot to have a good effect. So what I typically recommend is putting your hand flat over the open bottle, tipping it so you get a little bit, and then tipping it back. And you can see I've got a nice little sheen there, and massaging it into your hands and then working that into the beard. And I can actually just work a little bit of it into my hair to help pre-tame the frizz of the humidity that's coming our way this weekend. And it just smells so good. The first thing you're going to notice is that top note, that mandarin orange, and then it has like the lingering aroma of the sandalwood. So such a simple recipe, makes a wonderful gift and really encourages self-care for men, which again needs to be normal and accepted, that men can engage in self-care routines just as much as we can. All right. So for those of you who do not have bearded men and you have a clean shaven father figure in your life, we are going to make a really fun aftershave gel. And I actually use this on my own legs. Like if I'm shaving and my skin is really dry, like in the winter, this is so soothing and cooling. And I've actually used this as like an after sun. So if I am out in the sun too long, like in my garden, and my skin gets a little too sun-kissed because I've got the very fair Scottish Irish skin tone that, I go from like pale to lobster in 10 seconds. This recipe is actually a really good summer recipe to take with you to like the beach or anywhere that you're going to be in the sun, because it's so cooling and soothing. So we are going to use aloe vera gel. And if you look at the recipe on the website, it tells you to mix all of this together in a bowl, and that's really for like immediate use. I like to store it in a glass ball jar, and I keep it in the fridge just because aloe vera is not the most shelf stable of substances. So we don't want to just like leave it on the bathroom counter where you're getting a lot of moisture from the shower, because that could allow bacteria to grow. So I like to keep this in the fridge. And if you think about it, having it cold, right, from being in the fridge, especially if you're putting this on like razor burn or sunburn, really helps augment that cooling effect of the aloe gel. So we are going to do, thick opening thing, 1 cup of our aloe vera gel. Let's see. You'll see it's so nice and goopy. I love working with aloe. I make a lot of things with aloe. Like I make a lot of my own skin creams, and skin creams are really fun to formulate. They can be a little bit of a challenge because you're combining a water phase and an oil phase, and water and oil don't like to blend together. And aloe, when you add aloe into your own homemade creams, it makes them a little bit lighter and fluffier. It helps that emulsification process. So I use aloe quite frequently in my own home skincare formulations. We are also going to do 2 teaspoons of tamanu. Tamanu, I feel like, is a very underutilized skincare oil. It's one of the skincare oils that really has its own innate topical benefits, even more so than just being like nourishing and soothing and hydrating for the skin. It's, if you have something like something growing under your toenails or something funky on your skin that really needs to be worked with, tamanu is a great choice for that. But for, either razor burn skin or just, skin that's being shaved frequently or out in the sun too much, it is really soothing and hydrating for skin that's had a little bit of a rough go. You'll see how just gloriously dark it is. So this measuring spoon is a 2 teaspoon measuring spoon. So I'll just do one of those. Put the lid back on because inevitably I will knock this over. So let's make sure the lid is on. And then we are going to do 36 drops of our Roman chamomile essential oil. So we carry 2 different chamomiles at Cacia. We have Roman chamomile and German chamomile. And they're like distant cousins to each other. They are completely different genus and species. If you are a botany nerd like I am, when you look at the botanical name for a plant, you'll see 2 names, typically italicized. So for German chamomile, for example, we have Matricaria recutita. So Matricaria is the genus, recutita is the species. And Roman chamomile is not even in the same genus. They're in the same family, the Asteraceae family. But Roman chamomile is Chamomillum noble. So they are, like I said, distant cousins in the same family, but not even related by genus. How you differentiate them in terms of effects, I like to think of German chamomile, and you could use them really honestly in this recipe interchangeably. German chamomile has a wonderfully topically soothing effect. So I love it for anything like hot, red, irritated on the skin. Roman chamomile, which is what we're using in this recipe, the aroma is a little bit heavier, I think, than German chamomile, which is one of the reasons we include it in recipes primarily oriented towards men, because they tend to prefer, again, those heavier aroma notes. It's relaxing just as much as German chamomile, but I think of it as having even like a deeper tissue effect. So like if I had a hard workout or I've been on my feet all day, I want to massage Roman chamomile into my body or put Roman chamomile in my bath as opposed to German chamomile. So for the purposes of this recipe, you really could go either way. But we've got Roman chamomile for this evening. We'll do 36 drops of that. You'll see it's coming out fairly slow because it's already in jojoba. It's there. Perfect. And then patchouli. I've had a love-hate relationship with patchouli. Because when I was living in Vermont, I lived in what can only be described as like a hippie commune. And I loved it. But everyone, like the only thing I smelled for like 4 years while I lived there was patchouli or Nag Champa. So I was a little patchoulied out for a while. And now I'm starting to like rekindle my appreciation of its aroma and its effects. And I will say, if I could only have 1 or 2 essential oils to deal with like hot, irritated skin, it would be patchouli and lavender. The 2 together, especially for sunburn, is so soothing. So we're going to do 36 drops of this as well. You can see it's a very heavy essential oil, so it takes a minute to get started, and then it's nice and slow coming out. And this is why I want to learn how to talk as I count, so that it's not just me sitting here waiting for patchouli to do its thing. And I'm doing a pretty good job. I think I'm at 4 or 5. See if I can accelerate it. 8, 9, 10. This would be a very good time if you guys have any questions so far to go ahead and ask Elena in the chat box. I know she's eagerly awaiting to help you all. But this is a good lesson in viscosity. So patchouli is incredibly viscous. That's why it takes so long to come out. It is a heavy, thick resin of a base note. I love the word resin. All right, I think we are just about there. I was close to being able to talk while counting. Not 100%, but I was very close. And then last but not least, our wonderful lavender. Lavender kind of just ties it all together. And 36 drops of that. That one is coming out a lot faster. We're almost there. There we go. And then there's two ways that you can blend this. You can literally just give it a good stir with a spoon, a fork. My preferred way, and I would do this to show you all if I had like an outlet close enough to me that would let this work. I really love using an immersion blender. So when I'm working with aloe, like if you guys look, you can see it's fairly clumpy. Using an immersion blender will help get everything integrated, but will also help really thin out and smooth out that aloe gel. I mean, but even so, that's still nicely mixed. So you'll notice it's taking on a little bit of a green tinge, which is kind of cool. And that's mainly from the dark color of the tamanu, the carrier oil that we use. All right. Oh, and that just smells so nice. So this, since my husband has a beard and no intention that I'm aware of to shave it anytime soon, I'm actually going to keep this in the fridge and take it with us. We're going on a family vacation this summer to the Outer Banks, and I'm really excited. But inevitably, I will get sunburned. No matter how diligent I am with sunscreen, it will happen. So this is going to be my application after I get back from the beach, since it will serve no purpose for my husband. All right. Let's see. There's a comment about patchouli. Oh, Elena. Yeah, she said, who's a patchouli fan? Yes or no? I think Elena loves patchouli, right? It's funny, when you're an aromatherapist and you work with other aromatherapists and you get to know each other, learning about like which aromas you have in common and which ones that like you cannot agree on. So like I love neroli. Like if I could be an essential oil, it would be neroli or ylang ylang. I've been leaning more towards ylang ylang lately, but Elena is not the biggest neroli fan, and she loves patchouli, I think, but I am not the biggest patchouli fan. So, but then we both have so many essential oils in common, so it's really fun as a way to get to know someone, like figuring out what their aromas that they love, like what draws them in. And that can really help, like if you want to make products for gifts and things like that, like having a conversation with someone about like when you close your eyes and think of smells that make you happy, like what do you think of? And if someone describes, like, oh, having chai tea with my friend at a tea house and I miss them so much, we haven't seen each other in years, then like making them a chai spice diffusion would be a really nice gift. Or, the smell of baking cookies in my grandmother's kitchen, and then making a gift with vanilla and nutmeg, so there's so many ways that we can use aroma to connect with individuals. So I digress, but I think it was a relevant tangent. Our last recipe of the evening is a wonderful cologne with bergamot and bay. So I think it's interesting that we have different words for products based on if it's, a male identifying person using it or a female identifying person using it. So like if it's for a woman, we say perfume. If it's for a man, we say cologne, which I just think that's interesting. The whole history of aroma and perfumery is just like, I could go down a whole rabbit hole. Maybe I should teach a class on like the history of aroma one day. I actually just got back from a phenomenal conference, the International Herb Symposium that was up in Norton, Massachusetts. And just like, I always leave these events, these conferences feeling so inspired to like go deeper with my own knowledge and my own education. And so if I'm going off on a lot of education tangents, it's because I just got back from this conference. So I'm like, education is on my mind and adding little tidbits to classes here and there. Okay. So for our bergamot and bay, we are going to be making a cologne that is kind of like a blend of citrus and spice. I will say I'm not very familiar with most like commercial cologne products because I don't like them. I have something called multiple chemical sensitivity. So like synthetic aromas from colognes like really, really agitate me. So like if I was wearing masks on planes before it was a thing, because if someone was sitting next to me wearing a super heavy cologne, it would trigger like migraines. So I would have to try to I would put my essential oils inside my mask and put that on and try to prevent migraines. So the point is, I'm kind of likening this recipe to what's that brand of aftershave that did the really funny commercials for a really long time? Do you all know what I'm talking about? Like, was it Allspice? The Allspice guy? Old Spice. Thank you, Elena. Old Spice. Oh my gosh, those were the best commercials. So I kind of think this blend, and that's like what my grandfather used to wear. And like, I do have fond memories of that aroma because of my grandfather. But so I kind of think this is like an Old Spice-ish blend with the really spicy note of bay, the heaviness of vetiver, but then like the uplifting and sparkly notes of bergamot and sweet orange. So it's a really nice blend. The base that we're using for this is a blend of water, vodka, and vegetable glycerin. So the reason we put vodka in here, and I will say that I actually used Everclear. So I used an alcohol that was 75% alcohol by volume instead of 40% alcohol by volume. And I like doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it extends the shelf life of the product. Anytime you're putting essential oils just in water, water itself doesn't have a great shelf life and it invites bacteria. So even though essential oils can fight that a little bit, you don't want to have water-based products just sitting around, especially if they're going to be going on your skin. We don't want to even put essential oils just in water on our skin, which I'll get to that in a second. So the alcohol component actually helps ground the essential oils in the aroma blend, in the products. You actually smell them much better. It helps them integrate more because oil and water will never mix. But essential oils are soluble in alcohol. So if you are into herbalism and you've ever made your own tinctures or infused oils, one thing you'll notice is that plants with a higher volatile oil content, which that's what essential oils are, volatile oils. So plants like lavender or thyme or oregano, we tend to tincture those at higher alcohol concentrations because volatile oils are soluble in alcohol. So adding them to this recipe helps everything stay like dissolved and immersed much better. The alcohol adds shelf life or preservative value to the product. And we add the glycerin in there because we never want to put essential oils directly on our skin, right? So even if you're diluting them in water, like I said, water and alcohol or water and oil don't mix. So you can shake that bottle up for hours and hours and hours, years and years and years. And those volatile oil molecules will never dissolve in your water. So at some point when you're spraying it, you're going to get direct contact between your skin and the essential oil. So glycerin acts as a humectant, meaning it brings moisture to the skin, but it also provides a protective barrier between your skin and the volatile oils, the essential oils, and allows them to be absorbed through the skin without actually damaging the layer of the skin, right? The skin cells. So, very beneficial for adding the alcohol and the glycerin. If you were going to be using this product just on clothes, the glycerin wouldn't be necessary. But typically when we think of cologne, we're spraying it like where, right? On our necks. I don't know if men do the perfume thing, but we are typically spraying it directly on skin. So we want to have a protecting layer. So we are going to do our bergamot. We have two bergamots at Cacia. We have regular bergamot and we have what's called our bergaptine-free bergamot. Bergaptine is a particular type of constituent in bergamot essential oil that is photosensitizing, meaning if you were to put regular bergamot, in any type of topical product on your skin and then go directly out in the sun, you could actually experience skin discoloration, burns, etc. So you don't want to have bergamot as is directly on your skin for going in the sun. Now, the bergaptine-free bergamot, we've taken out that bergaptine constituent and it no longer has the photosensitizing properties. So even though we still don't want to put bergamot directly on our skin, bergaptine-free or regular, if you're doing the bergaptine-free bergamot, you don't have to worry about, putting this on and then going to the pool, putting this on and then laying out at the beach. You won't have that photosensitizing effect. So we're going to do 12 drops of bergamot. Okay. And then we are going to do 8 drops of bay. I love the smell of bay. I don't know why. It's so comforting. We have the descriptor of like animating on the bottle, right? Uplifting. All of our spice essential oils tend to have that mental stimulating effect, right? They help awaken us to life. They help like enliven us. And bay, it has almost like a sweet aspect to it as well as the spice. So we're going to do 8 drops of bay. All right. Then we are going to do 3 drops of vetiver. This is one that I like to think of as an acquired taste with essential oils. Obviously, we're never ingesting them, but acquired scent, acquired taste, because it's very heavy. It's very it literally smells thick. And I struggle with this one a little bit because a few years ago, I dropped a bottle of vetiver essential oil in my car and it broke and got vetiver everywhere in the middle of the summer. So I had like hot, sticky vetiver essential oil in my car and oh my God, it was so much. And I started developing like an actual sensitization to vetiver. It was starting to trigger my headaches. And now I'm at the point where I have a new car, this was, when I say a few years ago, this was in my beat up old Toyota Camry that the windshield wipers didn't work. And so it was 12 years ago, maybe. So since over the last 12 years of having a vetiver free car, I can now smell vetiver and be okay with it. But that just goes to show, these are strong plant extracts, right? These are highly concentrated extractions from plants that absolutely affect our physiology. They are more than just something that has a particular smell. So we're only doing 3 drops of vetiver, and you'll see how thick this is coming out. This is one of the slowest essential oils to come out. It's fighting gravity. 1, 2, 3. All right. Just it literally comes out looking sticky. That's how resinous it is. And then 2 drops of our wonderful essential oil, sweet orange, just cheering, joyful, happy. And I got an extra drop in there because who doesn't love a little extra drop of sweet orange? All right. And then we are going to do, so for our base, it's 1.5 ounces, and you'll see this in the recipe if you click on the link, but 1.5 ounces of water, 1/2 ounce of vodka. Again, I did Everclear, a little bit higher alcohol content, and honestly, it's what I have on hand for when I make tinctures. And then 1 teaspoon of vegetable glycerin, and I mixed all of that in here already to make it easy on me to pour. Perfect. And then just give it a good shake every time you're going to use it. And if you are using a spray bottle for the first time, it takes a couple of pumps to get it started. Oh, that is so nice. I really hope my husband wants to use this one. I love this smell. It again, like, yeah, it really reminds me of Old Spice. Thank you for that, Elena. I couldn't get allspice out of my head, but I knew that wasn't right. I used to laugh so hard at those allspice commercials. Those were the absolute best. So if you look at our labels, I know there's a couple of questions coming in about Bay. One thing I want to show you all is that we have these awesome extend labels, these pull out labels. So we have a lot of information about each of the essential oils that we didn't used to be able to fit on our labels. So when you pull this out, we have not only a dilution guide, so how many drops to use, for example, for making a facial product versus body care versus home care. We also have quick tips for how to use Bay. So for example, diffuse 3 drops each of Bay and lemon for a lively dinner time diffusion. Oh, I love that idea. We have a recipe here if you want to make a different beard oil for Bay and cedarwood beard oil. So again, we have so much more information that we can pack on these labels, but this is actually a really good point. So I'm not sure if Pat asked the question to everyone. Yes, she did. So, or he, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. So Pat asked the question, is Bay from the bay leaf plant? And the answer is yes. We do distill Bay essential oil from the types of bay leaves that we would think of for cooking. But there are multiple species of bay leaves. So there's multiple species of bay plants, and some are better for distillation, some are better for cooking. So Elena put some information about that in the chat box there. But when you're choosing to buy essential oils, regardless of if you're buying Cacia or a different company, you always want to make sure that you're checking the labels to make sure they're putting the botanical name of the plant where that oil is being sourced, because you want to know what plant you're using. So we have the species of bay that we use for our essential oil is Pimenta racemosa. The reason that's so important, lavender is a really good example. There are multiple species of lavender that are used in aromatherapy. We carry multiple species of lavender at Cacia. If we're thinking about the lavender that we all associate with bedtime and relaxation and calm and shifting us from fight or flight to rest and digest, we need Lavandula angustifolia. But there's other companies out there that are selling Lavandula officinalis, which that used to be the botanical name for lavender, and it no longer is. So that's a way to kind of sell different species of lavender under the common name lavender, but that you might not actually be getting Lavandula angustifolia. You might be getting Lavandula latifolia, which is spike lavender, and that has a much higher camphor content, and it's actually stimulating, right? It's not going to relax you before bed the way Lavandula angustifolia will. So when you're sourcing essential oils, it's really important to source from a company that is transparent about where their plants are sourced, how their plants are sourced, how the testing is done, what species they're using, because that way you know what's in this bottle is exactly what's on the label, and that it's going to have the particular aromatherapy effects that you're looking for. So speaking of getting into some more details about essential oils and aromatherapy, we have some exciting news about the upcoming virtual classes that we're going to be doing. Elena and I are going to, and then Elena, thank you for putting that in there. Elena put the botanical name for what we use for cooking is typically Laurus nobilis is typically the bay we use for, put 2 bay leaves in your soup stock. And did you ever play the game that whoever got the bay leaf in their bowl of soup won? That was a fun game. So for the upcoming few months of virtual classes, July, August, and September, Elena and I are going to be doing something a little different with how we run these virtual classes. We're actually going to be doing a deep dive into aromatherapy notes. So instead of focusing on a theme like Mother's Day, Father's Day, which is so much fun, we want to get a little bit deeper into the nitty-gritty of aromatherapy and essential oils and how we use them. So we are going to be dividing the next 3 months into a deep dive into top notes, middle notes, and base notes. So in July, we're going to be exploring top notes with Elena. So which essential oils are top notes? What are general aromatherapy characteristics of top notes? What are some ways we use top notes? Why are top notes so important when we're making aromatherapy blends? And we'll do the same thing in August with me for middle notes, and then September with Elena for base notes. So it's going to be a really fun deep dive into aromatherapy education for you all. Still Thursday nights at 7:30 Central. So our July class is going to be Thursday, July 27th. We moved it to the end of the month because of holidays and travels. So I really hope we get to see some of you there, all of you there. It's going to be a really fun dive into the world of aromatherapy. And yeah, Elena put a little bit of background information in there. She and I both went through the aromatherapy certification at the American College of Healthcare Sciences. So we've been practicing aromatherapists for about 7 years now. I've been a clinical herbalist for the past, 12 years. And I've been in the herbal medicine world for about 20 years now, a little more. So we have a wealth of knowledge and experience to bring for you all. And I really hope that you are able to join us for those classes, because I am so excited. Like, I very much geek out on this type. My husband calls me an herbadork. I very much geek out on this type of class that we're getting ready to teach. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you're able to make some really fun gifts for the father figures in your life. And one of the things I like about these recipes is that they're actually fairly simple to do with kids. So if your kids are of an age that you think that they're ready to start trying some hands-on aromatherapy product making, these are great recipes to do with littles. So I hope we get to see you next month for our aromatherapy top notes with Elena. And I hope you all have a wonderful Father's Day, a wonderful 4th of July, and we will see you at the end of July. Have a great night, everybody.